Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. One of the reasons I have been so successful with my bismuth art is that I kind of started doing it without reading too much about what was going on in terms of what other people have tried, and it allowed me to have an open mind, a fresh slate to experiment and to mess up and to correct myself and to explore more and to network with people and all that, right? Had I started by Googling how to make good bismuth art, I don't think I would be where I am today. I really don't. I did obviously figure out what bismuth is, where to buy it, maybe some of the chemical properties, but that's it. And then I was off to the races on my own. And it gave me a fresh slate so that I didn't get too much influenced by other people. And so that's that. I made some mistakes with initially trying to make the crystals. I made some mistakes with some molds. I've made some mistakes with the anodizing, or they had the wrong solution at first and it didn't even work. And that was that, right? And you get the idea. Now, unfortunately, too many people don't like to start with a fresh slate in their thought process, especially older people. So I work at a tutoring center, and most of my students have fresh slates. It's really refreshing to hear when I tell my students some new ideas. So one of my students is 14 years old, and he's studying Calculus 2, if you can believe that. But he's kind of quirky. And he got really depressed one week when his girlfriend left him. And I asked him what he was planning to do with his girlfriend just before she had left, and he had mentioned a movie they were going to see together. It was going to come out like 2 Fridays from then. And I dared him to go see the movie without the girl anyway. And it didn't take much for him to accept that idea. And he did it, and he had a great time. And then after he went to see the movie, I told him, don't answer me right now. Take this question home with you. Come back in 2 days and answer me. Is it the girl that you're missing, or are you worried about being accepted for not having the girl? I'll let you think about what he answered after 2 days. But it was really refreshing to hear how malleable he was to those. It would never work with somebody who has more experience under their belt. Unfortunately, contrast this to older people like my manager. He's in his 70s, and he doesn't understand the idea of some people just like to go out to see a lunar eclipse. He thinks, you can stay up and view it. We need you tomorrow. Just do your best, right? The next day I come in yawning, and it doesn't seem to bother him, right? And he doesn't seem to understand the idea that some people, when the Super Bowl's being played in their backyard, they really want to get out of the city, right? I know you love the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate that most of my office loves the Super Bowl. But the anxiety around it is immense for me. Good luck getting somebody who has too much experience under their belt to understand that, though, right? Now, the unfortunate thing is that even though some of these kids understand these concepts, they don't want to rock the boat, right? So I had one of my students she's 16 years old, and she's also studying a grade or two ahead of her level. Not as impressive as a 14-year-old boy, but she was desperately looking for somebody to hook up with just before homecoming last year. And I explained to her, you need to enjoy homecoming whether or not that right person comes along. And she understood it. She was more afraid if the rest of her class was going to understand it. Now, I got to point out something. The rest of the class could be thinking the same way that she does, right? She needs to actually move that needle, right? And unfortunately, that fear could be a big problem as well. Now, I had a sixth grader who, unfortunately, during class one day, his nose started to bleed. And I went online to search what to do because it's been a long time since I had a nosebleed. And unfortunately, YouTube sometimes has too many prank videos. And unfortunately, you can't see the dislikes on that. And so we looked up about nosebleeds, and the video was about how to give yourself a nosebleed. But you know what? It took his mind off the nosebleed, and after we were done fixing up his nosebleed, I started to miss back when I used to get nosebleeds. You know, when I was in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, I used to get nosebleeds all the time. Actually, when I was in 8th grade, one time my nose had bled so much during one day, I had to go to the hospital, and my mom took me to the hospital, and I decided to play with the elevator at the hospital because I was trying to take my mind off of the stresses, and it pissed my mom off so much. I mean, I wasn't doing anything crazy, I was just riding the elevators up and down to take my mind off of what was going on. I mean, no 8th grader wants to end up in the hospital, and I was just trying to take my mind off of it. Anyways, open your mind, please. This is the Peter Dislike Show! Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.